Keith, so wonderful to be with you today. Thank you so much for taking time to have a short interview with Ben and I. We are so pleased to see you. You look great, and just want you to know that I can speak on behalf of the entire country how much New York has been in our hearts, and we've been thinking about you nonstop, and especially the clean transportation community. We've been thinking about you and are so pleased that we have this opportunity to talk with you today and really check in and to see how you are doing. So with that, I will start the interview really just trying to get a sense from you how this pandemic has impacted the largest fleet in the country, also the largest alternative fuel fleet in the country.
Okay, well, thank you, Alycia. Thank you, Ben. It's great to see you. These have been extraordinary times that we are all dealing with, but we are so happy to have CALSTART as our continuing partner. So yeah, this has been a major event for New York City, and of course, the fleet supports all the day-to-day emergency response and service efforts that take place. We've been hit closely. 4 fleet staff, including one of my executive fleet members, Lennon Fierro, who ran our safety and Mayor de Blasio's Vision Zero programs for fleet, have lost their lives. It's been a reminder how fleet staff, including and also building staff, nurses, teachers, people in our markets, our food markets, forget the financial markets, how absolutely essential they are. So we felt it close to home, but we're also, we have to do our job. So we are supporting, the fire department and the ambulance program has been really expanded in doing extraordinary work. We are doing a lot to support the medical examiner, the police department, the parks department. Parks is really an essential service, and we're seeing how important our parks are for New Yorkers to kind of get out and get a break from everything that we're dealing with.
Thank you, Keith, and I'm so sorry for your loss. I've been, keeping track of that, and all of, my condolences to you and your team. I know this has been a hard time, and I really appreciate you sharing this with us and how this has impacted even from a human side of the story. You guys are busy at work and really keeping the city alive. And during a time like this, your leadership is really important. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to turn it over to my friend Ben, who's going to ask a couple questions around the clean transportation technologies that you have within your fleet and how that might be supporting during this time.
Sure.
Thanks, Alycia. Yeah, I think a storyline that's emerging from this situation in New York City and in New York State is that in addition to delivering essential services, right, we have vehicle fleets and investment programs that are largely continuing apace. Or past investments are being, implemented now. So it might be interesting to just share with our audience, some of the ways that you at New York City Fleet are kind of putting to work what Alycia mentioned is the largest alternative fuel fleet in the country. What are some of the services that you're counting on those vehicles to provide?
Well, right off the bat, you think about ambulances. As you know, the city operates 600 ambulances. Over 400 of them now have hybrid technology. And, we implemented that to be able to kind of stop the idling of ambulances. Ambulances are an interesting fleet. They're almost always idling. They need to be ready to respond in a moment's notice. That's a lot of fuel use, a lot of maintenance costs, a lot of pollution, a lot of noise. So we implemented alternate power units, essentially big batteries, and made all our ambulances hybrid ambulances. They also have a plug-in capacity. So that technology has been extraordinarily valuable. Our ambulances have performed extraordinarily. Of course, it's their crews and our EMS who have done just unbelievably heroic work, but they're using essentially an alternative fuel ambulance. I do also want to mention the unbelievable and truly heroic work that our ambulance repair shop has done. And 2 of the people we lost were the supervisor and a mechanic at that shop. So, we always know our firefighters and our, EMS are kind of on the front lines, but our mechanics and fleet staff are on the front lines with them.
I know certainly as a New Yorker myself, I'm definitely grateful, right, for all the services and continuity that your team and all the city agencies are providing right now. So it's great to hear how our ecosystem is playing a role in all of that. Now, as you guys look ahead at continuing a clean transportation, a sustainable fleet program, in what ways has the COVID situation impacted the city's ability to kind of maintain momentum on its sustainability objectives in particular during what are very challenging times?
Well, look, we're just as committed to these sustainability goals as we ever were. Mayor de Blasio recently, made a similar statement, basically said that we need to keep making progress, keep investing in sustainability. This pandemic, and one thing I feel very strongly about, is not some 1 in 100-year event. It is a global environmental crisis, and in a reminder how quickly all our lives everywhere on this planet can be upended when our environment changes and threatens us. So I don't see this as some separate health thing and it happened, we happened in 1918, I guess we're dealing with it now. I see this as part and parcel of the environmental challenge that we all face. And so it only reminds me that we have to double these efforts, triple these efforts, and keep pushing forward. Certainly, we've seen, some things have been impacted or delayed, right? So we were, close to installing and finishing up a lot of fast chargers. And so obviously with the construction announcement, we had to, push that back a little bit, but we're very hopeful that we're going to have a whole bunch of fast chargers. As soon as we're allowed to start constructing again, we're going to start cutting a lot of ribbons. Obviously, the manufacturing base for vehicles has been disrupted throughout the country and the world. So we had 700 hybrid police cars we were waiting to get. We have a lot of electric vehicles we're waiting delivery for. We understand that we'll have to wait a little longer on those, but those orders will continue. Our commitment will continue. In February, as part of the State of the City, Mayor de Blasio announced, and we did an executive order, that we will go to an all-electric fleet by 2040. And so we're very excited about that. That is our charge, and that is only more important to us as we deal with this.
Great, Keith. You and your team are doing a tremendous job, and really just your positive attitude and how you are maintaining momentum during these times. It's really incredible and super, coming from New York City for 13 years, I'm super proud of DCAS.
You're always welcome back, You get
well,
all that sunshine and stuff.
You can take the Gale out of New York, but you can't take New York out of the Gale, and that's what I say. I always have New York in my heart. But as you've been going through this experience, I would just love to hear from you, Keith. What have you learned from this experience, or you are learning about this experience? What are some big takeaways that may change the way you think about how you move forward, how DCAS moves forward?
Well, first, obviously, it's a reminder of how quickly things can change, right? I started the year with a whole other different set of ideas. I didn't expect to be working out of my home, and now I'm in my office, but usually I'm in my basement gym, and having to kind of alter everything that we do and struggle with this extraordinarily serious thing. It's also a reminder how quickly we can change in the positive sense, right? How fast have we adapted? My kids are going to school, but they're going to school using all new technologies. We are using technology to do all the work that we had to do, and learning new ways to protect employees in terms of masks and partitions and cleaning vehicles. So, it's a reminder on both sides how quickly things can change, and also how quickly we can adapt and we can work together to address them. Obviously, there are some things we're going to think about for the future. Telework has now come in a big way. And telework can have long-term environmental, resource, and fiscal benefits, right? So my agency, DCAS, has among its responsibilities the buildings and facilities for New York City, the energy program, and the transport and fleet program. Telework could potentially have long-term benefits on the environmental, resource, and cost side. So that's certainly something we're going to look at. And obviously, it is such an extraordinary reminder of who does the important work out there, right? Who are we all dependent on? We're dependent on the people in our food markets, not our financial markets. We're dependent on the people who take care of our buildings, on nurses, on doctors, on auto mechanics who keep these vehicles going, on our police, on our EMS, on our parks department employees who are out there keeping the parks open for people, but also trying to make sure they stay safe. So it's just a great reminder of who does the work in this country, who we should be investing in and supporting. And we all know that that's not always, what happens. So it's been an extraordinary event. Of course, it's not over. We still have a lot more to do to keep our city safe and to get our city back operational.
Well, and on that note, Keith, I would love to know what CALSTART, what can our clean transportation community do to support you and the city's efforts. We would, of course, all of us are biting at the bit to see what we can be doing to be helping you, as you guys are really are making a huge impact in keeping the city moving. So what can we do for you?
Well, you know what you can do? You can keep the pressure and the focus on these extraordinarily important environmental challenges. So as we've all been dealing as a city, as a country, with this pandemic and this horrible health and medical crisis, we've also seen backsliding, intentional in some cases, on environmental issues, right? So we've actually retreated from fuel economy standards. Why we would do that, I do not understand, right? Is there something about more fuel efficient, more maintenance efficient, and less polluting vehicles that we shouldn't like? And on other environmental areas. So, I think it's absolutely important and critical that we see this pandemic as a global environmental crisis, as a reminder affecting every single individual one of us in our daily lives of how quickly environmental issues could change what we thought was normal and change our day-to-day existence, and that we get extraordinarily focused and serious on not just this pandemic and health crisis, which we're in, but on these other environmental challenges. We know that with alternative fuel and clean energy vehicles, we can reduce air pollution, we can reduce the potential impact of climate change, we can also save money, we can reduce costs and maintenance needs for our vehicles. It's a win-win-win-win, and not investing and focusing on that is a lose-lose-lose-lose. So CALSTART has a huge role to play. We appreciate our partnership with California. We want California and New York to be together in leading this effort along with everyone, but we always like our states, especially my state, to be on the forefront. But I think that's as important as any work, right? Today it is COVID-19, but our planet is still heating up. The fires in California are still expanding, and the threat to all of us from pollution and climate change is only more important. So that's extraordinarily important work. You are well positioned to do it. So to some extent, the best thing you can do for us is do more of what you're doing.
Well, Keith, you can count on that. We will do that, and we look forward to continuing our partnership with you. It's been such a wonderful experience working with you and John and the team for so many years, and I want to thank you for taking this time to share your thoughts with us and really be a part of our feature interview for our update, and really look forward to checking in on you soon and seeing how things are progressing, and make sure that we're keeping connected with you in a meaningful way. So thank you so much for your time, Keith.
Thank you. This is great. It's great to see you. And hopefully sometime soon we'll all get together and have an in-person party.
That would be great.
But keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you.
Much appreciated, Keith.